Hey everyone, John C. Myers here. Just wanted to butt in real quick before we started the bonus emergency Saw X episode proper. Let you know that we're on YouTube now. We started our own little YouTube channel, put all the episodes up on there. So if you, for some reason, can't stand listening to podcasts, you're against your podcast app, whatever, but still want to keep up, you can find us on YouTube. This May Hurt a Bit on YouTube. Might do some other fun stuff with it, put up some other videos. Right now, it's just the episodes. Maybe we'll do some streams or, maybe if there's interest, maybe I'll stream that Pumpkinhead 2 game, for example. But yeah, you can go ahead and find us there and like and subscribe and all that stuff. All right, enjoy the episode.
The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is...
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular horror franchises. And today we are talking about Saw 10 from 2023. John, it's our first emergency pod.
Emergency podcast.
It's so emergency. Everybody... People just needed to hear what we thought about this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true of any topic. They need to hear what we think.
It's emergency thoughts, right?
It's an emergency thoughts.
Right. But here we are taking shots at content creators. Anyway, we just got out of a matinee showing here in Portland of Saw X, Socks, as we've been calling it. And I don't know. I had a good time. Let's start off with spoiler free, just initial thoughts, and then we'll kind of like ring a bell or something like that and say it's spoiler from here on out. And this will be just much shorter. And obviously, we weren't jerks and taking notes in a theater or anything. So this is like
headlamps on,
straight off the dome, or straight off the sawed into skull, or initial thoughts, type of thing. So. I love watching Tobin Bell. That's my main absolute takeaway from this. It was so smart just having him back. He's got a presence that I thought I missed, but this just confirmed how much I missed. Even if I'm a little so-so in a lot of the Saw movies, as we always say, Tobin Bell, I can watch that guy forever. Yeah. So
I'm trying to figure out when this takes place, and my guess is between 2 and 3.
Or 1 and 2 is my guess.
Yeah, it's one of those earlier ones.
Yeah.
Because some of it's based on the length of Amanda's hair.
Right.
But him being older, almost 20 years older, closer to death, works for playing a character that's supposed to be so sick and whatever. And he looks like, I'm not trying to insult Mel, because I'm sure they added to that look as well. But yeah, he's older, and definitely you saw John Kramer as a much more physically fragile person. Yeah.
And in the age of de-aging, they wouldn't have put that kind of budget into a Saw film.
Yeah.
But also, I think that he's, everybody says they hate it, and I think I'm on that bandwagon too, but I just know that Saw fans love Tobin Bell so much that they don't care what he looks like as far as his age goes and chronology. I would have been so distracted, and my love of watching him would have been just weird if they would have de-aged him at all.
It also, on a strange meta level, it works just because this is all so timeline twisty anyway.
That's true.
And things are kind of things. So why would you have him look young again? It doesn't really matter. It's fine.
Yeah.
You bought everything up to this point. You can buy this.
Right. So as far as staying spoiler free for a few moments, the basic plot of the film, and I don't even think I watched the trailer for this, so I can't remember. Usually I say trailer stuff is fair game type of thing, but the idea being that John Kramer is made aware of a experimental procedure south of the border in Mexico, and he needs to go check that out. And I'm sure you've guessed that things go just fine, and he goes back to America, a changed
really
man.
uplifting.
Yeah,
Unexpected,
totally. But yeah, it was like, I think that's a solid jumping off point. That's a good idea, and you get into like the kind of desperation of the medical system. You know, they could have leaned on that even harder. Like, I think they did that in part 6, right?
They did that in part 6. That was against the insurance company. And I thought at first, for how much they were talking about big pharma at the beginning, I was like, is this going to be like John Kramer's quest for ivermectin?
I mean,
like, what's going to happen here? But then it's yes and no.
Yeah.
You know?
Side note into like, I bristle, and this is more on me than I think but just like after COVID and, you know, those the grifters who just get in there and try to make reasonable people mad at big pharma. I think we all distrust big pharma, but after COVID, I got
to distrust big pharma.
But after people becoming anti-vax and everything because of that, I was just like, oh no, this could go down a QAnon rabbit hole before I'm ready for it too. So.
Which I mean would totally. I mean, I was very interested in how they were able to synthesize the jigsaw that was in the first 3 movies and the like crime jigsaw that was, you know, more of a Death Wish style vigilante in 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
I thought they were able to do that pretty well, and the story like works out in combining that really well because it is a vengeance seeking thing.
Yes,
but there's also he's still doing his code, his normal bullshit.
Yeah. I will say the opening trap sequence made me laugh with glee for sure.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Might be like, it's not my favorite trap in the movie, but like they do use that crazy Saw camera effect in the first trap. And I thought, oh God, this is going to get hard to watch. And I think that they tamped that down by 50, 60% throughout the rest. So
I think it's got a little bit of a different look compared to the other Saw films. And it still does some of that like crazy zooming and whatever, but I think that style is largely out of fashion.
Yeah, I think
in general. And so I think they were able to still like pay homage to it or, you know, like keep true to it, but still do its own thing, which I thought was good. That was when welcome back. You know, you brought up Saw 6 that Kevin Gruder is back.
Directing and editing
this one. And, I thought he did a good job. But this might be my favorite one since 7, and 7 I like in kind of a tongue-in-cheek, for how like tongue-in-cheek it is, but like this is a decent Saw movie.
I definitely agree. I mean, it's fun to watch him, and well, gosh, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not either, but I was just so glad to have so much time with Tobin Bell and his character. And I never got bored. I never thought it was a slog. Oh, this is one thing that I was thinking about this is probably the first Saw movie that I've seen in a theater since way back. I'm talking like 1, 2, maybe 3 or so. Like I just fell off seeing them in the theater. And I totally admit I was more wrapped up in like, you know, it's not a spoiler to say that a Saw movie has a twist in it, but like when the twist happens and stuff like that, and that music starts to play, I was just like, oh, I'm here for it, as the kids say, you know.
And I don't think that's a spoiler to mention that, like, oh yeah, when that music hits, you're like, oh, I'm gonna Saw movie. Like, this feels good. There's that dopamine.
Exactly. I was into it, and I definitely like it ended on a feeling of like, yeah, I'd come back in a year and watch another one of these.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Just keep doing
it. Particularly like coming out of Jigsaw and Spiral, it's like, okay, we're back. Like this is what it was, and we're able to keep it kind of fresh. And yeah, it kind of goes back and does. You could argue that it does a legacy sequel thing, but at the same time, it does bring in elements of, even though this perhaps takes place between 1 and 2, 2 3. I'm sure it's been figured out.
Oh yeah.
But like there's elements of 4, 5, and 6 that kind of get brought back in a way that I think is awesome. None of the, hey everyone, it's another Saw movie. Remember this is ever like just that. It's never remember this. Like it's put in there nicely. Like it fits into the story and all that stuff very well. And there's not a lot of Easter eggs, or at least obvious Easter eggs, that it's just there to make you feel good that you see something that you recognize.
Exactly. I think that's about all we can say before getting into the more fun stuff. So I would say, you know, pause this now, run out, go see that movie, come back and listen to a little bit more. We're not going to go scene by scene or anything like we usually do. This is more of a thoughts off the head, so a shorter little bonus emergency pod on Saw 10.
Yes.
So
yeah, and for as someone as Jim kind of said, as someone who was not really that into the series overall, like I think this is definitely near the top of the list for me on Saw movies.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was a beautiful autumn day, a Friday. Took off work a little bit early. What did we do? We went and sat in a warehouse and watched some gore. Is what we did with our beautiful.
Then we went and watched Saw X.
Yeah. Right. So it's what we call a double feature here around here. So, all right. So if you want to remain spoiler free, I suggest that you stop right here. Okay, if you stuck around this long, you've seen the movie, or you don't care about spoilers. The one thing that I wanted to mention before I forget is the fact that one strange guy in the audience ran up to that couple who got into the theater late and had to explain to them real quick that they missed the opening trap, which is the trap that was on the poster. And he was very proud of himself.
I thought, like, did they know each other? Were there more people they were expecting something? No, he was into the movies and wanted to make sure people weren't going to be waiting for that.
And I don't like a lot of, disruptions during a movie theater experience, but I took that as genuine passion from one fan to the other. Like it was cute.
It was fine. It was nice.
Cute.
Yeah. Like he just wanted people to know, like, hey, if you're here for the thing that you thought you were coming here for, you missed it.
Yeah.
But you can look it up. Enjoy the show. Mm-hmm. It was very strange, but kudos to that guy. I hope he enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This might be his third screening, though. We don't know. He could be a real psychopath.
Right. The funny thing is about that opening trap, I thought the poster was pretty fantastic for this, but I automatically was just like, a couple of rats are going right down those tubes, and we're going to get some eyeball chewing.
It looks like a habit trail.
Yeah. I don't know if that says something about me or about Saw or what, but when that didn't happen, I don't know if I was disappointed, but I thought what happened was actually pretty fantastic. And
I was stoked.
I thought that the tone of that trap with the eyeballs getting sucked out was more Looney Tunes than all the rest. Like it had a little bit of like a campy value to it, I thought.
It was definitely like much more like the one of the later Saw traps.
Right.
I mean, they all have kind of a ridiculous thing, but it was so absurd. And then the fact that it was about he's at the hospital, dealing with cancer stuff, and he sees an orderly like stealing stuff out of a guy who's infirmed. Like an orderly janitor guy opens a drawer and like takes his wallet and watch or something, and John Kramer just, it seems like it ends up being in his head.
Yeah.
He immediately like goes to this thing where the guy's trapped, and he has the device is that it's going to break his fingers. He has to turn a dial, and at each click of the dial, it will break one of his fingers. And he has a certain amount of time or a thing will happen. And which at first I'm like, this is a long way to go for like a wallet.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Here, I mean, it's Jigsaw. But then the guy, of course, doesn't do it in time. And the punishment is that it's attached to a vacuum and the tubes suck out his eyeballs. And it's just ridiculous. And then when it's revealed that it's in his head, it was very funny because, one, that it is very like Looney Tunes. Like that's his like, okay, like this is his basic idea. And like, well, wait, that's not actually physically possible. That's not how that works.
Oh,
right. This is my launching off point.
Yeah, I like that.
But that it's also because it's done in that super Saw way that like that's just the inside of John Kramer's head. Yeah, like looks like a fucking corn video, or
it's his version of Homer talking to himself, talking to his own brain.
Yeah,
or just like, this is just a sketch. It's just a rough draft of the eyeball sucking. I'll get back to it.
Yeah, we'll fine tune it. Fine tune it. Maybe something goes in the end. I don't know, but this is just a kicking off point because you want to punish the eyes and the
Yeah,
but it was very funny when it comes back to that. And then you get this, like, the first, like, half hour, I don't know how long, but, like, it's actually just, like, a sweet little movie of him discovering this, like dealing with his cancer, going to a support group thing, trying to make the best of his final days. Then, like, encountering this guy from his cancer group who's, like, doing great now. Henry Kessler, who's like, I'm totally doing great. There's actually this treatment I did. Oh, what was that? It's a long story. Yeah. And I like it. Like John Kramer is just like desiccating in front of this man. And the guy's like, oh, it's a long story.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in hearing about this miracle cancer cure. You're right. Have a good day.
Go have your blueberry scone
Yeah.
away from me.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. No, but like I was surprised at how long it took, not in a bad way, because I was invested in the story, but
Yeah.
I was surprised at how long it took to get to all the traps. And I'm completely fine with that because Tobin Bell, and he's good at what he does.
And I think that's actually like getting to this, to the core of Saw. That's not just like, oh yeah, no, I'm here to just see the traps and that's it. Like I think it identifies that these movies are more than just that.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's a huge draw, and yes, you'll see it. But like, understand that we're dealing with character stuff here. And I thought that was actually really interesting because it is, even though you know that it is a prequel and what's to come, you're still actually invested in his story and like what actually is going to happen here. He ends up getting in touch with Cecilia, Dr. Peterson, Cecilia Peterson, who is like, okay, well, you can come down to our clinic and we have a setup clinic in Mexico. Like we're on the run all the time.
With a comical accent too.
Yeah.
Well, mainly from her father, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wish that was a little, I was getting nitpicky about that because like they did make, when he's searching for it, they did make like the user interface, like the web search thing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Google 2002.
Right.
But then all the video just looks great.
Yeah.
Like, man, real player that shit up. Come on.
If we're going to nitpick that for a second, I remember they cut back to the video on the screen for the edit and the little progress bar was just back to the beginning, even though the video had been playing for a while. It's just like, well, if you work in video, then maybe you catch that kind of crap. Duh.
Yeah, as a YouTuber, I'm furious.
Right.
Yeah, so he goes down there he goes to Mexico to deal with this. And already it's weird.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets there, something seems off.
Something seems off. They did, shoot Mexico in a kind of like almost that standard, like we're in Mexico type of way with that yellow kind of sheen.
But it was very toned down though for that.
It was.
It's
not traffic.
Praise. It's damning for faint praise that it's not like you didn't do the absolute like stereotypical thing.
Yeah.
You just did kind of it.
Exactly.
But,
yeah. So, he gets taken into this clinic and it's still like, it's funny because I'm thinking about it from like a script beat thing because you got your fantasy trap up top. Then you've got your guns drawn on him for a little bit. Like, God, we don't want to get everybody to get bored here. So we have to have him like pseudo kidnapped and then taken into the hospital procedure area. So that still worked because I was just like, oh, what is this? It did make me like question just for a second.
It's fun. It's like I said, like, as a viewer, in theory, you're going to the 10th Saw movie having some knowledge of Saw.
Sure.
And so it's a way to let you know, like, okay, well, we know he's not going to you didn't do a thing where like, well, he's actually been cured and not, dead with cancer this whole time. So it's a way to kind of like let you in on this journey and let it kind of keep it interesting that these weird things are happening and what's going on rather than just like wait for the inevitable.
One thing that I did think about though is, and I remember laughing so hard about it when this first happened, but one of the twists in the latter Saw movies was that somebody put the wrong sticker on the wrong X-ray. Yeah. They did the Dr. Hibbard over the thumb and the crayon thing. Yep. And so if we're going to do a prequel, so are his medical records that got sent down there the one with the wrong sticker on it now?
See, my guess is that they're going to go, that never happened. Yeah. Don't worry about Jigsaw. Okay. That never happened.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But like, because that was so dumb, it's always hung with me.
But I think wasn't the whole thing with that just like that it was just a few months off or something like that? Well, I guess it would have happened already because the stuff that happens in Jigsaw happens pre-Saw.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Because that's the whole twist is that's like the first set of traps he was trying out.
Right. Okay.
Even though they're like much fancier than what he was doing, but yeah.
Check and mate.
You got us again, Saw franchise.
Anyway,
one step ahead.
Yeah. So he goes through this procedure and it was kind of clever. I did, have that gallows humor bit of like him turning over. It's just like, hey, you can watch them like operate on your brain. And that was an impressive bit where like, especially after you learn everything, they are going to make it so you see this and then, avert your eyes, please. So
that
was fun.
Please don't look at your own brain.
Right.
Yeah.
But So yeah, he ends up just finding out that this was all a big ruse. That is a big con.
It's a very involved con.
Like, I just don't know the strings you can pull to make that happen, but kudos to you, Doctor Whoever, for even being able to put all that stuff together. I can, barely get like 5 people to go out to a bar on a Saturday night anymore.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, there's a lot of efforts involved in it. And I guess you have to scope out your cancer patients to make sure they're rich enough to have it be worth your while.
Mm-hmm. And have plants in other cities, like the gentleman that we were just talking about, the scone guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's the bait or whatever. He gets them in. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Global operation.
Apparently, because they have to keep shutting down and moving other places, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Because like she talks about her dad, the reason she's doing this, not her dad, is her dad had to go into hiding because of Big Pharma. I don't know if we said that or not.
Yeah.
But he had to go into hiding because of Big Pharma, but she's carrying on his work. But they're always on the move. And yeah, because when they drop him off after the ceremony, the procedure, he's in a different spot. He decides we're at the location, at the clinic, which is like in this big house. He meets this woman who greets him at the door named Gabriella. Mm-hmm. She seems like he's going to hit her at any moment. Yeah. She's very mousy, and it's just like, oh boy. And at one point, right before the day before his procedure, she like, it's good luck, tequila for good luck. And the doctor's like, well, you can't drink that.
Right.
You're going to surgery tomorrow. So he doesn't. But then like, he's feeling really good. He's like, he's got this, wearing this bandage. Like, don't take off the bandage on your head. It's antibacterial and whatever. Just hang out. It'll be cool. And he's going about his life feeling good. He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy some tequila for Gabriella for some reason.
Yeah, I was wondering
they
about that. They
apparently have some connection and he cares. I don't know.
It's just to show that
was kind of weird.
That's just one of those scenes that they throw in to make sure everybody knows that John Kramer is a nice man who are people who are nice to him. He's got a code, all that. He's no villain.
You'd think he'd do it for the doctors or something. Right. No, it's for Gabriella, the person that like showed him his room.
Yeah.
But when he gets to the he's able to figure out where the place was because he was taken there blindfolded by triangulating these. He does this very jigsaw thing of triangulating where these radio towers are.
Right. Yeah.
And he figures out that they've all cleared out.
Oh, before we forget, funniest moment in the whole movie. Jigsaw's just sitting there on a beautiful sunny day, fresh out of surgery. He's just looking at ducks on a pond practically. He's scribbling in a notebook, cuts down. It's an image of a face in a trap, and it's the
crucifix trap from part 3.
Right.
That spins the head around, and then like
Man,
he's like,
that was
maybe
funny.
not.
Yeah,
and tears it out. But yeah, that was very, very funny.
God, I love that. Yeah,
perfectly done. Mm-hmm. So he figures out that's the thing. So he goes on this quest of vengeance to basically figure it out. He figured out he's been scanned, takes off the bandage, and was like, "Yep, nope, his hair's still there." They didn't do a damn thing to his head. No
soreness in his head after the procedure or whatever.
No, that's how good they are. That's how good they were. And that the video he was watching of his brain operation was from like a DVD.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That did make me laugh. God. Yeah. Jesus Christ with the Simpsons references. But man, that's like something you'd find in Dr. Nick's office of just like.
Well, yeah, because for a second it was like, well, was he learning to do the surgery as he was doing it? But no, it was all part of a scam because apparently that doctor was also the cab driver or something.
Wait a minute. If the whole thing is a scam, then why do they plant a DVD in there to be like, this is how you do a brain surgery?
I think the idea was to show, because like then he can look up and see like, oh my God, they're operating in my brain. And they're like, oh no, this is very real. Please don't look at that.
Right. But the DVD was like a how to do a brain surgery, right?
It was footage. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, we're saying the same thing. I think. Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a fake out deal.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's vengeance time, and I like the way they deal with this because he starts figuring it out, and you see him on the phone. He's like, "Detective, I need you to look into some people for me." You're like, "Okay, all right." So Hoffman's still around.
Exactly. I dug that actually for his. For as much as I got bored of Hoffman, I was just glad to just be like, that's got to be him.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so Hoffman's still around, and then you start seeing these people in their real lives, and the Valentina, this woman who was at the medical thing, was like a nurse there. Turns out she's just she's a prostitute. Mm-hmm. That one of my favorite bits though is that Matteo, the doctor, is also. Like works at like a veterinarian place. Like he's basically like the night guy or like I couldn't tell, even maybe just a janitor over there. But the Gabriella shows up because he deals her drugs.
Right.
And the first thing I think of to talk about Simpsons reference is like, oh, she's strung out on cat ear medicine. Yeah. But I guess he's got oxys for her.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he does get, the first thing John does though is get the it wasn't Mateo was the cab driver, the anesthesiologist was Mateo, but they goes ahead and gets the cab driver that took him there, finds him again. Mm-hmm. And the first big trap is him he attaches pipe bombs to his arms.
Pretty good.
Which because I like, there's a certain amount of simplicity to these traps.
I was going to say.
They're all kind of, it's like makeshift. At the same time, if you start thinking about it.
Yep.
Absolutely not. How much time did you spend doing this, man?
Yep.
The classic Saw movie stuff.
Don't overthink the layer or how much time he had to put all this stuff together and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Do not.
Where he gets a radiation thing, maybe upstairs in the doctor's office.
Well, that was driving me nuts because it's like, okay, so you're running this huge scam on people, but you still bothered to buy or have medical equipment of that like giant radiation machine. That's not like a insanely expensive machine.
I was gonna say, don't you know how much that is?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yes,
yeah,
no, but it's got to be expensive.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing the trap, though, I was kind of waiting, like, is this just going to be like a sun lamp? And it kind of was.
It kind of was. Yeah. While we're on that trap, just for a sec, man, I loved that joke of it just swiveling.
Oh, it was great.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
He's always one step ahead.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did like the pipe bomb thing because you got just the classic self-harm type of thing. Like, you got to slice up your own arm to get these pipe bombs off and throw them away. But, I mean, God, I've already forgotten. He survives, right?
He survives, but then like it kind of cuts away from there pretty quickly.
I was going to say, so what happens to him? Is he just like goes to the hospital, I suppose?
I mean, we see later that that John like pumps him for information, basically.
Oh, right. That's it.
Weirdly enough, he doesn't seem to have a new lease on life.
No.
He seems like you just tortured him
rather
for a long time and he's unhappy about it.
Right.
Weird how that works out, John.
Did you ever do a follow-up interview, John, on how the
like
people who wins? Right.
Or just five different smiley faces, smiley to frowny.
Yeah.
It's just like, what was your experience with us? How was customer service? Yeah. Cleanliness?
Let's check in once a month for the next 6 months to make sure this really stuck.
This is going good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets information on the next people and close it on Valentina and Gabriella. And who's doing that? It is Amanda.
Yeah.
Amanda is back.
That was pretty neat.
And it was cool to see Shawnee Smith, but it was very not cool what they did to her hair.
I mean, that wig has got to be a choice.
It was emo Phillipsy. It was, it made me think of, I think maybe it's because in Mexico, there's that Chespirito guy they show on Univision. There was like a kid who was supposed to, like an actor playing like a small child, that weird kind of bowl cut.
Oh,
thing.
yes. Yeah.
Very much like, it was kind of like the mayor's assistant in Pumpkinhead 2, actually. Same kind of haircut. I again, as we said, like, I like they didn't do any of the age makeup or anything like that. No one's going to look the same that they look 20 years ago, except me, obviously. I'm perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not flattering. It's not a good look. It was very, very bad. And I know they want to keep that short hair, but like, you could have done a better job than that.
Right.
Shawnee Smith deserves justice for Shawnee Smith's wig.
Totally, yeah. But yeah, it was good to see her. It was good to they've fleshed out a little bit more of her too in this as well, because Gabrielle she has a drug problem, and there is a moment after one of the first traps or so. Jigsaw and her have a quiet moment together, and she's just like, not Gabrielle next, because that stuff takes a hold of you. And, it's a reference to her own life and all that kind of stuff. So, wait, so that would mean it has to be in between part 2 and 3, right?
I would think so, because I know she slips again in between 1 and 2.
Oh,
which
right.
is why she's
That's
in the
true.
house.
Right.
But like, there's a thing like, so I was very happy to see them, but I do think, and the nature of Jigsaw and Amanda in this is a little bit different, because even though they're still villains, they're a little bit more the heroes in this, because they're seeking vengeance. They're the ones that put upon. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I really, you didn't get the emotionally abusive side of the relationship that they showed in like 2, and particularly like 3. Mm-hmm. And I would have liked that a little bit more, rather than just being like, I have to call in my crew. Yeah. That there wasn't an opportunity for that. It doesn't matter too much. I don't think the movie suffers from that. It's just something I would have liked to have seen.
Sure.
But it doesn't focus on the relationship as much, because she is just the sidekick in that.
Yeah, exactly. What was the? I'm trying to think. What was the trap after the
first
after
trap is
the arms?
is the leg trap.
Leg trap. Okay, yes. So the leg trap was just kind of classic, gnarly, disgusting. And of course, my favorite Jigsaw traps are the ones where you do a whole bunch of damage to yourself and you still don't win. So you also get the kill shot in these.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, and this was something that when we were doing Saw 3D that our guest Rob Campbell kept bringing up, is that like the frustration of you don't have enough time to do this.
Yeah.
And that one, I think that happens a lot. Where it's like, oh, you almost did it, but it's not like there was a twist or you did something wrong. You just didn't do it in the short amount of time.
You can't saw your own leg off in a minute and a half?
They did it, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Cut him some, like, because she has to cut off her leg and then like suck the marrow out of her stump.
Right.
Enough marrow. And it's like, she was basically there. Come on.
Come on.
Cut her some slack. Not enough.
Yeah.
She gets cut. And I did not know that name of that kind of saw that's almost like, the first thing I thought of was the end of Hereditary. But the Geely Saw, which is actually spelled like the
movie,
Lopez movie.
Yeah. So that person gets decapitated. I don't know if it happened right after that, but I think it's another shot later where there's a funny shot where it just pans over to the severed leg too.
Yeah.
Just like little bits of humor in there, whether intentional or not, were really I really quite liked, actually.
Yeah, it was very gallows humor, very gruesome. Like there's a lot of gore in this, but like the physical effects are great.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Yeah,
and I really am glad they kept true to that, because that was something that sucked in Jigsaw just at the end.
Yeah,
where it's like it's lasers now.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, this is back to the old like building stuff and blood and gore, and a lot of the traps didn't have the same kind of like maybe sort of thematic tie-in as much as it was still like applicable to each person. Like Mateo has to cut off a part of his own brain. So there's still some of that, but there's not a like overall tying together of the traps, because it's, he just had to get this put together.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say he didn't have enough time for the poetry and the double checking and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, so we progress on. We do the brain trap is pretty great too. Like, are you going to be able to cut open your own brain, which is so ludicrous, but I still thought it was fun.
Well, and then when he's pulling stuff out of his brain, because I read somewhere that the brain itself doesn't feel pain, so I don't know if he'd be able to feel it. But I think I might have read that in the comics, so who knows?
Well, just give you the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Yeah,
that's
well,
okay.
Just like something stupid where he's like, can't play piano anymore.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah,
just joshing you while I'm in this death trap.
Yeah,
just having a little bit of fun.
I like that trap quite a bit too, and the ending was just like the statue and all that kind of thing. Like all of these traps really worked for me. And then we get to one of the first big twists where, gee whiz. So what's her name? Pendergrast?
Cecilia Peterson.
Cecilia. I like the way that Cecilia was played throughout the rest of the movie up until the big turn, because it almost looked like she would go back and forth from being helpful to also being like, I want to see some of this gore.
Oh my God.
Her ripping up the intestine was amazing.
So great. They need a rope at some point. They're trying to do something. So she just cuts into Valentina's body and takes out her intestines. She uses the rope.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Disgusting, but like so ridiculous that like everyone in the audience is just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, not in this like, oh boy. Like it's they want you to laugh in the movie. Like
absolutely.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So the big turn happens, and what's that lug guy's name?
Parker Sears.
Parker Sears.
Stephen Brand.
Yes.
And he's a guy, when John first shows up to the clinic, he is just finishing his treatments.
Right.
But then he shows up pounding on the door and is after Cecilia himself for scamming him.
Right.
So he's got a gun and is all pissed.
Yeah. Turns out they've been working together this whole time in a big old twist, and moving along a little bit now, they get the jump on John and Amanda. And I will say, I thought, like, how did we get 10 movies in without putting Jigsaw in one of his own traps?
Yes, I was kind of surprised by that.
I guess he dies in part 3, or 4 or whatever. But like, I was like, well, this is clever in an extremely simple way, and I'm game for it. I thought it worked.
Well, I was just gonna say, because it's not only just that it's, like I was saying, like, he's going to get out of it.
Yeah.
But it's the how. Like, James Bond ever isn't going to die.
Yeah.
But it's how does he get out of it? And so that's kind of funny. So yeah, to have him actually be in one of his traps, like, well, this is new.
I am by no means a moral police type of person, but like, Strapping a kid into a saw trap was just like a half step far from me, you know?
It was a bit much. Well, it was, and I'm surprised they went there, not just because, we've talked before, like with Reggie the Reckless, where it's like, okay, well, now that you have a child involved in Friday the 13th Part 5, I'm not worried about what's going to happen because you're not going to do anything to him. But when you start dumping gallons of blood on that kid's face, when you start waterboarding a child with blood, you're like, this could go either way, man. I don't know.
Exactly. And it's just the tone of a movie too.
Yeah,
like Reggie the Reckless is great, but like you put a kid in a saw trap and that's a little bit more, than I usually go for.
More real.
Right.
But that was a kind of a thing where you're like, well, where is all that blood coming from?
Oh, I thought that too. Yeah.
And like, that's
slaughterhouse
not sanitary.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you are dying of cancer, but this kid is not. And so you're just like, here's some blood I found by the side of the road. I'm sure it's fine.
The whole don't pull thing, I thought that was a little bit of a stretch just because obviously the scene sets it up in the earlier scene. But even in that earlier scene, I don't know why he was saying what's for pull. Like, unless he was really just setting that trap up at that moment.
It just seemed like he was trying to show him like he was straightening the
pull
to straighten it. So I'm
pull to
showing
straighten.
you how to do this.
I just thought that was a tad of a reach, but
yeah,
whatever.
They could have been done a little bit smoother. But in the moment, I do like that. That's that they don't pull because the trap is they're both chained down to one side. It's like a teeter totter, and they each have him and this small boy. They each have a lever, and if you pull the lever, it moves you up and moves the other person into the stream of waterboarding, the blood to get waterboarded. Bloodboarded. And so he tells the little kid, like, don't pull, like, let me get waterboarded. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because there was part of me also was like, well, just, I know you're like, you're chained down there, but can you like just turn your head a little bit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never been.
Well, you want me to waterboard you with blood and see how you fare?
Not with blood. No,
okay.
We should try with water.
Okay.
If you could just torture me the regular way, I would appreciate it.
That's more my style.
Yeah.
Classic. But
it's golden age torture.
Right. We're talking Gulf War torture here, not this more modern crap from our age. Thank you very much.
Classics.
Yeah. Well, not to get too heady about it, but these Saw movies were inspired very post 2000 or 2001 and all that kind of stuff. Waterboarding is very much that style.
Well, particularly with the scene with the cab driver, it did have that like, look, torture gets results.
Yeah.
Which definitely is a thing that I mean, that's part of his whole ethos is that if I torture you, you'll figure out that life is good. Mm-hmm. I mean, in this case, it was literally like, I'm going to torture you to get information, because if he killed if that guy died, then what?
We'd have no movie.
There'd be no movie. So he was really leaving a lot on the line with that.
Right.
So the evil couple leave them alone to go get the money that they've robbed from everyone upstairs, and that Cecilia is very much like, has given this whole villain speech about how like, all I was thinking when you were killing those other people in front of me is that less people to share the money with.
Made me think of The Dark Knight. One less share,
Yep, just so like full on mask off evil, and she's the one that goes get the kid to put him in a trap because she's going to punish John.
Right.
Which honestly, like, she doesn't know the whole everything that's going on, but like it ended like the first Saw movie where you just you guys are chained up and bye.
Yeah.
Like this is in the middle of nowhere. No one's going to know you're here. Like,
she wants
suffer
to see
and
it.
Think about how I beat you. But no, she wants to see it happen. So she overplays her hand. And I do like that though, that they do manage to call out his like bullshit morality stuff in a way, and have her kind of be this almost sort of mirror of him in that sense of like, you lie to yourself to tell you that this all works, but that she definitely like overplays her hand, and it keeps him like I said, they want him to kind of be the hero of this.
Right. But
it still is, he's the villain. So you're kind of rooting for him, and you need her to be worse.
Yeah. Right.
But they didn't, but I like that it wasn't just, I'm a different person that makes traps. It's the trap was the con.
Yeah.
And I think because it's a con movie too, you sort of expect, and so those con movies, like, well, turns out I was being conned the whole time.
The double con.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it all works for a Saw movie for sure.
She pulls the money down. It sets off a trap because of course it does. John Kramer had this all figured out 10 steps ahead. Door seals, and then the couple have to fight each other. They won't work together, of course, which is a classic Kramer. Like,
the big theme is kicked in.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, this is the final twist. Because in all the Saw movies, it'll flash back and be like, oh, remember when they said this? Remember when this happened? And that was real weak, frankly. Because it was all like, Yeah, because it was all like, oh, I'd die for you, baby. Okay,
yeah.
like, oh, she's gonna burn you. You just wait. Like, they're all just things they just told him. There wasn't any like, oh, that's what that meant.
Right.
It was, like
Flashback
that was
to a
actually
joke
literal.
almost.
Yeah, it wasn't that impressive. But you're happy to see them, get. I guess they're in a, they're just like trapped in this airtight office.
Yeah.
Gas is filling up the room, and he had chance to replace all the windows. And which you think is like, this is how powerful and good John Kramer's is, that he can get all this stuff in another country. He's still able to make this all work, unless like Amanda brought it all with her. Because we did not mention, you do see Billy.
Oh
Billy
God, how did we forget?
And, like, pointlessly, to just like he rolls through to deliver something on a tray to
the surgery stuff.
Yeah, the surgery stuff. But it's like, so Billy went through customs.
Yeah,
like Billy got X-rayed. Whatever. It's
I love
very
that.
funny to me that like you bothered to bring Billy, because there's not that like diffusion of responsibility where like, I'm not even here, I set up the trap and then I leave. You are involved in the trap.
Yeah.
But still somehow you brought Billy out for some reason.
Yeah.
Same thing where it's like they have the tape recorders. You're standing right there, John. Just talk to him.
Just talk to him, right? Or she, as she says, do the creepy voice. Just do it
the
at
creepy
him.
voice. I love when she says that. Come on, John, do the creepy voice.
Yeah. But yeah, lest we forget Billy the Puppet. Everybody in the theater was excited to see him, including me. But yeah, I do love that at the end of the film, they just like walk away and leave him there too. So,
yeah,
the way these movies work too, especially how turned inside themselves they are. Clarissa or Pendergrass, whatever her name is, the last we see her, she's like grasping for air. She's still alive.
She's still alive, but they like leave, kind of like what I was saying before, like just leave them locked in the facility. It seems like they're just leaving her in the facility because I don't think that room is still full of toxic gas.
Movie logic, she's alive the last time we saw her. So she's going to grab Billy and she's going for revenge. I bet she's not done in the new series is what I'm saying.
And it's almost like one of those things where all the Star Wars stuff that happens now, they're like, well, we can't do anything with the sequels. Like, that has gone so crazy. So we're just going to focus on the Star Wars people like. And this all happened before or after the fall of the Empire,
right?
Like before the First Order. Like so I think if you see more of these, it might be more of that. It might be more of like, well, this is an alternate thing that's happening. But it's really tough as they get they have a specific timeline.
Yeah,
that they have to not like they've ever not retcon stuff before, but there are specific like end dates and a window when they can do stuff. But absolutely, they could come back with Celia. Yeah, because she figures out that he's after being in these traps. Like, oh, you're Jigsaw.
You're Jigsaw.
Okay,
right.
I figured that out. Okay, but I beat you at your own game and whatever.
Right.
Yeah, they all leave with the child. He gives all the money that they got, presumably all the money. Maybe he took his cut back, but to the little boy, and they all leave happily. Feels like the ending of Resident Evil 2,
right?
The game, not the movie. And I was wondering as they're leaving, I'm like, wait a minute. So what about the guy that Henry guy that introduced John to this whole thing in the first place? Was he in on it, or was like because he saw the dad? Was it successful? Like, I don't understand. And then we get a nice mid-credit sequence.
Yes.
Back in the bathroom.
Yep.
That's the most like, to me, the most Easter eggy. Like,
yeah.
Look at that. We're back in the bathroom.
The bathroom. Right.
Yeah. And he's got Henry tied up in there. Oh, who's there assisting him? Hoffman. And I was legitimately happy to see
I was too.
I will admit.
Look what happened to us. Look what happened. Yeah.
Because I was like, well, you brought Amanda back. And I like that like no one likes Amanda. That Amanda is a loose cannon. Yeah. And like she's just there to be muscle. And every other character is like, shut up.
Right.
I hate you. It rules.
Yeah.
But when Hoffman just has this tiny little bit at the end. But it was still nice to see him.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to bring in everybody, why not? I thought it was just going to be the phone thing. So.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It ranks up there for me, for sure.
It's a different take on it. Like, it's, like I said, making them kind of more the heroes was an interesting version of it. Because you're still, like, watching these people suffer, and you're like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because they're just con people, and it does seem a little extreme. But at the same time, it does give his quest for vengeance, like, his whole, like, moral code thing or whatever. He wants these people all lied to him, a man dying of cancer.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's all about that. It's not like, well, you drove the car and I saw you were speeding, and speeding kills, so I have to kill you. I'm sorry, I don't kill you. I make you kill yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a clever twist on it. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I was totally not expecting much of anything out of this movie.
Exactly.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we managed to talk for a lot longer than I expected to as well. So,
yeah,
it's just, let us know what you think of this. I don't know if we'll ever, this is just a format thing, but I'm just like, oh, will we ever give this a proper Saw X thing in like a year or so after we rewatch it? Maybe with all the, all the proper trimmings and everything. But this is just what we were thinking off the top of our head since we got out of the theater just a few hours ago. But I hope all of you liked it as well. I'm sure a few of you were seeing it this weekend. And let us know what you think. Maybe if I post about it on Instagram, maybe give it a couple of days before you put too many spoilers in there. Just give people a chance, But, maybe after a week or so, fair game, 2 weeks, something like
who
that.
cares?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the trap we set. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's all for tonight. Next episode, back to our regularly scheduled Pumpkinhead, as always. And, this will be up in just a couple of days, I'm sure, and we'll be into October. So we will see you next time.
Good night.
This has been a Two Penguins Media production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod and on Twitter at Hurt a Bit. Email us at thismayhurtabit@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.